I'm back live again, even though I just did one last night. I did a live last night on YouTube because I was just inspired to, and I was listening to it again this morning, and it sounded good. But I was like, I should have did my makeup. So I'm coming back because I should do my makeup, but it was okay. It was last minute, and I'm human, so I could do with or without makeup anyway, because that is not the point of this video that I'm doing today. Yesterday, I did a live talking about the relationship between metaphysics and what we think we know and understand about religion. And I was inspired because I had heard this Reverend, his name is Reverend Ike or Dr. Ike. He since passed away, but this was a long time ago. But anyway, it was like one of the only pastors that I've heard that actually talked about this element of metaphysics, but then also in the context of religion. And I find it to be so fascinating because I think that it's sort of this missing link between it's the missing link between where we are and then what we say we want. So I talked a lot about the law of demonstration, which is a spiritual universal law. And I talked about the levels of 3D, 4D, 5D to an extent. 3D being our physical everyday existence, 4D being this intermediary between our everyday existence, and then 5D is God source energy. So it is, this connection piece. And so this part of what I call this segment is really called the fourth dimension, because it's kind of like this middle ground or this bridge between our physical existence and then our ultimate highest consciousness. So, if you want to listen to that video that I made yesterday, that was again on YouTube. That was the live that I did last night. So, anyway, my topic today, I actually pulled this card, is Ease with Eagerness. And this is about allowing source energy to flow through you. And how do you allow source energy to flow through you? First of all, what does it even mean to allow source energy to flow through you? What is source energy? So, source energy is our highest elevation of self, our highest spiritual ascension. That's the 5D. That's being in total 100% connection to God, to source energy, to Jehovah, to Allah, to the universe, to whatever it is that you call your God and your spiritual center. And allowing it to flow through you 100% means that you have to lose the resistance that you might have to allowing it to flow through you. And most of us have resistance built up because we have these conditioning beliefs that we hold on to, that we are taught from a very, very young age. So, right out the womb, I always talk about how amazing babies are, right? Because babies are like 100% in connection to source and God energy. Babies come into this world so pure. And from the moment a baby enters this world, it's adults who start to chip away at this baby's infinite intelligence from the moment a child comes into this world. So as soon as a baby is born in a hospital, then they telling you that this baby got to take these shots and they got to do this and they got to do that. And it's like, but this human is more pure than anybody that's in this room. Why does this child need anything, in them? And so babies are the ultimate demonstration of perfection. This is how close, that's the closest we get to God's source energy. And this is why, from if you put a baby on a mother's belly after birth, that baby is going to make its way to the mother's breast for source. That's in a non-resistant state. This baby will scoop, this baby will crawl, this baby will make its way to its mother's breast. Around the time the baby is about 2 months old, the baby starts to talk on its own, starts to coo. And we as an adults, because we're so removed from our source energy, we so egotistical. So we'll say, oh, that baby is talking because that baby has heard us talk. Well, not really, right? This is the speed of light in which source moves. So even at the beginning of Genesis in the Bible, when they talk about on day one, this happened, day two, this happened, day three. I mean, there is so much power in manifestation. Like that was the whole story about manifestation and the speed of manifestation. Babies manage to, by the time they're a year old on this earth, they have somehow, I won't say somehow, it's infinite intelligence. They have somehow learned, they have manifested the ability to talk, to walk, to crawl, and really by no help with of adults. Like babies are able to do this without the assistance. We think that we are assisting them because again, what we may be doing is encouraging them, but we are not, we don't get on the floor with them and show them how to crawl. A baby, when it starts to see like, oh, I want to get over there, I want to do that. And so what I'm saying is we all still have the ability as adults to grow and to evolve at a fast pace, but we have so much resistance that is preventing us from doing that because we've been conditioned to think in a way that is actually not in alignment with what we say we want in our lives. Like I won't say everybody, but most people want to be a millionaire. When I look back on past lectures of metaphysicians and people who talk about these spiritual laws, the questions from the audience always come in about money. Like, how do I get more money? And we don't understand that one answer is the answer for all. And the one answer is you, right? So how are you getting in your own way of receiving what it is that you want? And that resistance looks like limiting your beliefs on anything, like our imagination. And again, this is why babies and children, they the closest to the spirit world because they haven't long left it. Imagination is the best thing that we could have because it allows us to imagine, to visualize a life in a world that we want to see for ourselves. And because of that, it's not just a dream that you have. It's not just the visualization that you have. It's actually something that is achievable and very much attainable. But how are you allowing source energy to flow through you in order to reach that visualization that you say that you want, right? We believe that we got to work hard and that we have to deserve certain things, right? But the universe is abundant. You can have anything that you want in this life. And so you have to feel worthy of receiving those things. You have to know that you deserve it and it's your divine right to do so. So again, what does some resistance look like? I wrote this piece the other day about heart disease. And I'm going to be specific around heart because I like wrote what do you call it? Acronym for heart, which stands for hurt, envy, anger, resentment, and trauma. Disease, which disease means dis-ease, like being at dis-ease with yourself. So a part of this topic today, as it's called Ease with Eagerness, is how do you remove yourself from dis-ease and get yourself into a place of ease with eagerness by allowing source energy to flow through you. And I was reading this book a few days ago about, it's actually, the author name is Florence Scovel Shinn, who I'm like a huge fan of. And I was particularly reading this piece of her book about heart disease. And I then went to go look at some stats around heart disease, because being in the field that I've been in for so long, primarily working with Black women, I know that heart disease is the number one killer of Black women. Heart disease kills more Black women than lung cancer, breast cancer, and it's one more disease than any other, than those things combined. Heart disease kills more Black women per year. And heart disease is the number one killer of Black people, but it's the most over any other ethnicity group, but particularly for Black women. And so we may or may not understand that our mental and emotional health will manifest itself physically. So if you are being diagnosed on a physical level in the 3D by a doctor and they tell you that you have heart disease or you at risk for heart disease, that is because you have some emotional or mental um, dis-ease, lack of ease within your heart and mind, that then causes these physical manifestations. Now, what's included with heart disease, what is defined by that? That is high blood pressure, clogged arteries, heart attack, and heart palpitations. So it is important to understand that what we consume, and Jesus says this in the Bible, and I don't know which passage, I'm getting better at that. But he basically says that it's not it's not what man consumes that defiles him. It's what's in his heart that defiles him. So you can consume anything that you want to, but under the conditions that you are consuming it makes a difference. If you are consuming, junk food and a lot of things that are considered unhealthy foods, and you feel hurt, envy, anger, resentment, and you have this trauma within you, then that's how the fat and more unhealthy way sticks to you. Because when you are consuming it under low vibrating energies, then it has a low vibrating effect on you. Versus if you are functioning and allowing source energy to flow through you in high vibrating circumstances, such as happiness and joy and peace, if you're consuming things under that vibration, then you are more likely to not have adverse effects versus if you are consuming it on a low vibrating energy. And so the connection between our mental and physical, or mental, emotional, and our physical realm is so important. And I don't know. And that's why when people say holistic, like that's what holistic means. It means examining the whole person. It means examining what's happening in your mind and on an emotional level, because then those things manifest itself on a physical level. So heart disease, of course, is not the only dis-ease that can physically manifest, because we are at a place to where we haven't really been taught to, I don't want to say deal with the mental and emotional, because we have been taught to deal with the mental and emotional, but it's not in a way that is most beneficial to us. So I have been seeing this train and wave of how important mental health is. And I don't negate that, because mental health is very important. But what are you doing about your mental health? And, people say, okay, well, I'm going to therapy. But when you go to therapy, are you talking about your joys and your happiness and your success? Or are you talking about all of the things that don't make you feel good? All of the things that you thought that you had been released from, but now you are in this space and you talking to somebody about that time somebody did something to you and how traumatic it felt and how hurt you are and how angry it may make you. And we have to understand that that's a part of our resistance, because the more energy that you put into something, the more of that thing you will get back. So if you are constantly talking about how hurt you are and somebody did something to you and these people are out to get you and this is happening, then you are actually calling more of that into your life. And so, in order to kind of level that, I should say, the reverse has to happen. When you go to the therapist, talk about all the good things, you know what I mean? Because you essentially kind of taking a shit on them. And I was just, you know, speaking to my husband yesterday about like, well, why is it that people say that they feel so relieved after they, spew all of the bad things that or feelings that they have, and they say like, oh, I feel so relieved. And basically it just comes down to like, it's the same way when you go to the bathroom and you take a shit, right? You feel relieved, you done shitted your problems and the things that don't make you feel good onto somebody else. And so maybe in that moment you feel relieved, but if you keep drudging those things back up, then there's really no relief. And so then again, you create this wall of resistance around you that is impenetrable, so that you are not then receiving the things that you say that you want in your life. And I mean, we all make it out to be about material things, but that's okay. It's okay to have a big house. It's okay to be a millionaire, a billionaire. It's okay to have all the cars and the furs and everything that you want in this life, because this life is abundant and you are meant to live in abundance. We're not put here to be poor. We're not put here to be in lack. We're not put here to be in poor health. We're not put here to be isolated. We all chose on a spiritual level to manifest ourselves back into this physical body. And you did that because as a human, we are the only species that are truly able to experience all five senses fully. Yes, animals can also taste, touch, hear, smell, see, but only humans have the ability to fully express that. Hugs, kisses, the feeling of the love, having the abundance, the being able to taste the finest foods, the best foods, being able to afford the best of the best, living in this amazing, house, or again, whatever it is that your heart desire. But if your heart is full of dis-ease, then how do you reach what you desire? It's a block there. For the most part, you know, heart disease and any other sort of disease, you rarely will see that it's also associated with a person that's very, very happy and joyous and loving and caring. And those elements all exist in everybody. But what I'm saying there is sometimes, even though if you don't see a person expressing their hurt, their envy, anger, resentment, or trauma, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in them. But our physical body tells a story. It tells a story of what we are feeling on the inside, in our minds and in our hearts. And so we have to let go of, like I said, these limiting beliefs, these beliefs that you should run around and tell everybody about your problems and what you got going on, because the past is the past. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about the past. It's done, it's over with. And the compassion that you can feel for yourself and others comes in you taking accountability and responsibility for even calling those events and circumstances into your life. And that's hard for us to do because nobody wants to say, oh, I am the cause and the reason of my own circumstances. And this is why we see, we call it a collective conscious victim story. Eckhart Tolle calls it a collective pain body. It's a group of people who are hell bent on continuing to live in a story of hurt, envy, anger, resentment, and trauma. And that's something that people of color, Black people, have bad. It's no coincidence that a lot of our communities look the same across the United States. That's not because of somebody else outside of us. It starts on an individual level. the self. You are ultimately the only answer to all your problems. Every problem comes with a solution because that's the duality of our universe. You're not going to get a problem without there also being a solution to that problem. But what is the personal responsibility and accountability in that? Again, that's very hard for us. It's very hard for us because we do not want to say, yes, saying only focus on the positive things. Because what it is focusing on the things that make you feel good, because I think that this positivity thought train has taken on a life of itself, and people will fake thinking positive, and that doesn't work. So focusing on the things that make you feel good, that is what draws you closer to your heart desire, is focusing on the things that make you feel good. I was angry for a long time. This is the part of the reason why I had to leave the nonprofit space. And even though I still work and do some consulting work in that space, even I limit the groups and organizations that I work with. I only work with groups and organizations that work around very light causes that like make me happy. I spent a good amount of time in my career being angry and resentful because of what I was seeing in terms of the data and Black babies and Black women, and I became very angry about that. And I ended up leaving, like I said, and I left everything. I left my job and I left all the boards that I sat on because I needed to be able to reevaluate, like, what was this that I was experiencing. And I came to understand that I was participating in so much heaviness. How can I call into my life everything that I desire and I want when I'm bogged down by heaviness? The only way that you can help other people is to be a demonstration yourself. And then people will come and be like, oh, okay, well, how you do that? So I see you glowing, you do, whatever. So how you show me? And essentially, this is what Jesus was doing. He was being a demonstration. And even he says, these people praise me, but they do not follow my teachings. They praise me, but they're not living their lives. They're not following what I'm even saying. Oh gosh, it's so exhausting to listen to people. Those people that's bound being able to put up strong boundaries. You know what? I was in this meeting the other day and it was so heavy. Afterwards, I was like, I gotta like go home and like sage and pray. It was so heavy. But listen, I remember being heavy. I remember being so heavy. I remember being heavy and serious and all the time. I'm like, once I look back at that, like I had to take down some of even my videos and I even look back on some of my posts on social media. I'm like, why was I so serious? Why was I so heavy? You know what I mean? It's no need for that. Like life is supposed to be light and fun and happy. You have to allow, and you got to allow people to do what they are here to do. Everybody got their own journey. Everybody is doing what it is that they um no, I'm sorry. Everybody is doing what they I have so much compassion for people because what I kind of realize is people are doing the best that they can with what they know and what they understand. And that's it. Everybody is on their own journey. And I respect that. When I get on here and now when I kind of just talk about these things, I'm not here to change anybody's mind or anybody's beliefs. I'm actually just kind of reciting things that spiritual law and even Jesus was saying himself, and I say that because like Jesus was a master metaphysician. I don't know if people understand that. Like everything that he was talking about in the Bible came from Kemet, which is ancient Egypt. It comes out of the universal spiritual laws. These laws are set up, and they are actually spelled out very, very clearly in the Bible from the beginning, as it's talking about Genesis. But that is not the interpretation that we have received historically of it. And the piece that I did last night, if you go back and look at my YouTube video from last night, I talk about why I have broke up with the church, the Black church in particular, because, and this is from when I was like a kid, because I understood what Jesus was saying, but when I asked others in the church, nobody could answer my question. So nobody was able to validate what it is that I was saying. And I was like, well, what am I here for? And it took me on a whole journey of spirituality, which ultimately still brought me back to what Jesus was teaching in the first place. And the only person so far who has helped to make that connection for me is the lady who I talked about at the beginning, named Florence Scovel Shinn. She was the first person that I saw. I read her stuff and I was like, wow, like she's actually connecting the spiritual laws, because I used to go to temple where I studied Kemet and spiritual laws. And I was like, this lady is the first person I've actually seen that's connecting spiritual law to the teachings of Jesus. And I was like, and this just makes total sense. And I don't think that people, I think it's because, and I hate labels. And I said that last night, like, I don't like labels saying like metaphysics and all, because then people get all caught up in like, oh, well, you ain't, you ain't supposed to say that or whatever. And that's what I mean about the limiting beliefs. That's resistance, that you're not open enough to even try to absorb and understand what is being presented, because we read a lot of this text. We recite these scriptures and everything, but are we actually demonstrating that in our lives? If you believe that God is your endless supply, are you actually demonstrating that in your everyday life? Do you truly believe that God is your endless supply? Or are you just saying it, and you saying scripture and you saying what Jesus is talking, but you're not actually living that? And that's why I went back to what Jesus said. Like, yeah, y'all praise me, but y'all don't even follow what I'm saying. And this was thousands of years ago compared to today. Now, and again, it's not like, sure, that everybody should be on one page, everybody should be on one accord, because everybody got different beliefs. And that's all good that you have different beliefs, or whatever it is that you believe, because everybody, again, is on their own evolution. Because some of the stuff that I'm saying now, I wouldn't listen to that a year ago, 5 years ago. I would have been like, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about. But there is a saying that is like, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you have to be ready to receive it before you can receive it. I feel that I hope to inspire people, because that's the only thing that I can do, is just be a demonstration myself, and inspire other people through my demonstration. And then if people want to know more, then they can come see me, or can listen to, the things that I share and I talk about. But other than that, and I'm happy to give whatever information, resources, or, that I have. But it's not something that I look at like, I gotta get people to see it this way. And I used to be like that, but I have like completely evolved past so many of my own limitations and resistance. And once I like broke up with my resistance, it's always like the floodgates just open up. It's like, oh, it's like I'm free, I'm liberated. I don't have these things hanging over me, or these misconstrued beliefs about anything. So, yeah, my time, this is coming to a close. This is coming up on 30 minutes. And that's all I really wanted to, share this morning. But ease with eagerness to allow source energy to flow through me. Allow source energy to flow through you. It says there's a song by the Mississippi Children Choir that says, "You say that I am your shepherd. Why aren't you following me?" Oh man, I'm gonna have to listen to that. It's the truth. If you say that the Lord is your shepherd, do you know sheep don't worry about eating, having enough to eat? They don't worry about being whether or not they're protected. They just know because they know they trust their shepherd. They trust their shepherd. And so if you think and believe and say that the Lord is your shepherd, is that really what you are demonstrating every day? And I know I keep referring back to my YouTube video that I did last night, but I actually talk about the spiritual law of demonstration because it's in alignment with what this song is saying and what Jesus says in the Bible. The law of demonstration says that, and it's a spiritual law again that comes out of ancient Kemet, and it says that if you say that you believe a thing, there will come a time where you have to demonstrate with what you say you believe. Now we call those tests, but are you in a position to demonstrate what you say you believe? Are you really gonna walk away from that job, walk away from that bad relationship, walk away from that bad environment? And I use the term bad loosely because the universe is indiscriminate of energy. So the universe doesn't God doesn't look at energy as good, bad, pure, or evil. Those are all labels that humans have put on energy, but that's not how energy works. Energy is indiscriminate. It's what you put into it that you get back from it. But if you know that something isn't in alignment with you because it doesn't feel, you have to pay attention to how you feel because it doesn't feel right. Are you willing to demonstrate leaving that thing that doesn't feel right or best for you? Like you know that you out here to achieve more than what you doing right now. You know that. You know that you're supposed to be further ahead than you are right now in your life. But you are holding on to resistance. You're not believing that the Lord is your shepherd. You're not believing that God is your endless supply. You're not believing these things that you say you believe in. And so you won't ever know. You don't want to get to 80 and 90 years old on your deathbed. You like, man, I didn't get to do many of the things that I wanted to do. I didn't get to be this billionaire that I dreamed of, or this famous singer, or this creative, or this whatever. Allowing source energy to flow through you is by using the gift that you were put on here to do, the gift that you knew that you had when you were born, when you made it Earthside. And her name is I just seen this because I'm doing Instagram live too, so this is covering up my chat on the YouTube. My bad. Her name is Florence Scovel Shin, and I'll write her. Let me see. I'm gonna get it wrong, so I won't. But I was about to spell her last name, but I know her last name is Shin, Shinn. Florence Scovel Shin. And her books are really short, which I like too, because she's very direct. She like this is the problem, this is the story. Here's the solution and the affirmation. And then here go the passage where Jesus actually said exactly what this is talking about. So she has a book called Life and the Game. Life is a Game and How We Play It. All of her books are my favorite. She has one called The Magic Path of Intuition. She has one called Your Word is Your Wand. Oh man, I think the next time I get on live, I'm gonna talk about that and what that means about your word being your wand, because it is. And I wrote something on social media about this the other day, that we have to learn how to speak nicely about ourselves. We actually been conditioned to not speak so nicely about ourselves. But what you say about yourself and what you think about yourself realizes. It shows up. It shows up in how you walk. You can tell when somebody has confidence. You can tell when somebody is walking with confidence. You can tell how somebody talk. somebody talking with confidence, somebody dressing with confidence. This is why, you might see people when they say don't judge a book by its cover. To an extent, to a degree, no, you shouldn't judge anybody. But how you present yourself on the outside is a reflection of how you feel about yourself on the inside. This is true. So take what you need from it, but it's a lot of those authors, and I'll share as I keep going, but I like her books because you can just get them on Kindle and read them. You also can get them on YouTube through audiobooks. She got it's a lot of audiobooks on YouTube of her too. So all right, y'all. Till next time, appreciate y'all tuning into, like I said, this segment I'm calling the fourth dimension.